if Janelle wouldn't have bought the RV, she could have been able to afford the mortgage on Christine's house.
If we were able to pay off the land this year, then why wouldn't we be able to actually just fund your construction next year?
No. It's Kody, it's like everybody's lost sight of the reason that we moved here was to build out there.
We're simply just buying an asset.
No, this really,
or
he
something
told me it would be 2 years before I could apply, 2 years of rent. So where am I going to live for those 2 years?
How do you support everybody?
Well, I actually don't.
Everybody works?
Pretty much.
Well, three of us work right now. I'm looking for a job, and she gets to stay home.
You get to stay home. Yeah. Yes, you like staying home, right? And you don't like staying home. I remember.
No, she doesn't like staying home.
One of you.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Wednesday, July 17th, 2024. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Last night, I was able to give you some great news for Janelle because she was able to plunk down some cash and buy some property in North Carolina. The area of North Carolina that she's building is coastal and it's got a lot of swampy lands, but according to my research, there's tons of agriculture in this area, and a lot of the people that live there, some people actually left comments and said that people will drain areas and start planting. Others have said that they'll clear areas and have a certain portion for farming and another portion just like left as is. But she purchased 156 acres. And there's a lot of agriculture in this area. It looks like the area mostly grows soybeans, corn, and tobacco, but it can grow other things like nuts and flowers and grains, cotton, vegetables, melons, potatoes, sweet potatoes, cultivated Christmas trees. You know, it's interesting. Someone left a comment and said that the name of her farm is called Tata Farms, and they said that the Tata is a pine tree that's commonly found in North Carolina. And I had no idea because we don't have these typically in my area, or if we do, I've not seen one. They're one of the fastest growing drought-tolerant trees native to southeastern United States. It's a major timber tree in the southern United States where it's valued for its lumber and pulpwood. So they have purchased an area that's heavily wooded with pine trees, and so they very well could be looking to sell the wood and make some money. And apparently someone from the area had mentioned that companies that are looking for trees will actually come into the properties if you allow them, and they'll clear it for them, and they will take the trees with them. So there's a lot of ways that they could clear this, and if with the amount of wooded area that they have, they could certainly sell it. And obviously wood is something that everyone is always looking for. But it's apparently distinguished by its large columnar trunk, attractive bark in a broad reddish brown plate, and its pale green needles. Its dense, rounded crown of dark blue-green foliage. We don't have these kinds of pine trees, so I was fascinated by that. Has anyone ever heard of a Tata pine tree? I had not. Anyways, right? Like, who cares, Katie? Why do you care? Okay, so Janelle was able to make a purchase of property. And some people in the comments were like, oh, she's just not a smart person. Like, why would she buy this land? How did she get this amount of land for such a cheap price? I don't know. I did look in the area, and it's not a super, the price for what she bought is pretty comparable to other tracts in that same area. So I don't think it was like she specifically got a good deal. I just think that's like the going rate because there were other areas in that same community that were selling large tracts of agricultural land for around the same price. And according to someone that has family that lives there that left me a comment, said that it's a relatively small community and it's about 40 minutes from where they live. So we'll see what they do with this. And Caleb is a hunter, so you'll never know. But with her purchase, some of you were very excited and were like, yes, she's finally living her dream. And then I got to doing some digging and I noticed that, remember back in December, Kody was like on a podcast, or in November, and he was talking about how they were going to do some upgrades at the house, and he had some electricians come over to do some bidding. And then a permit was taken out for this project, which was supposed to include like improvements of like the panels on their heated driveway. It was supposed to give them a brand new roof and a new water heater. They were going to be doing some like electrical upgrades too. So there was more electricity coming into the property. And this was done by an electrician, and they took out a permit to start the project. And generally, when you have a contractor come in to take out a permit to start a project, this would typically mean that you're going to be starting your work. We've done quite a bit of work at my house, and that's generally how it's been. In fact, I just had to get a brand new roof from hail damage, and we had the contractor here and a new roof and permits within, I don't even know, a couple weeks. The roof is already installed. So I was shocked when I noticed that this project just didn't happen. So they wanted to do these upgrades to their home. They wanted to replace the panels that are on their heated driveway, which are, I know it sounds luxurious for you. And hell, I live in Minnesota where it is cold, and we'll see this kind of technology on our highways, but not most people I know don't have heated driveways. But in this area, because of the mountains and because of the fact that there's a lot of tree cover and a lot of hills, neighbors of this area that live around this community have told me that these are not uncommon because driveways get very icy there. They also deal with black ice a lot. And with Kody's home, the way it was built, their driveway is windy and it slopes, and it has a ton of tree cover over it, which would make it difficult for the snow to melt quickly. And so in this specific place, it would be beneficial to avoid accidents and to avoid black ice and just to be safer. Now, these types of driveways don't last, and you have to replace them. And I think that was part of what they were trying to do, was replace them. And it never happened. They also were going to replace their water heater and get a new roof. What's interesting to me is that usually roofs you can get from damage. So if like you have a storm, or if there is something that happens with, mostly storm damage, like natural disasters. I mean, I haven't know if you've noticed, but there's been a lot of pounding sometimes in my videos, and that's because several of my neighbors have had their roofs replaced because we had a huge hailstorm last summer. Regardless, Kody's entire permit that they took out in December was good until July, and it was good until last week, and it literally expired. They took the permit out, and then they did no follow-ups on the permit, and then the permit now is closed. So they never completed the project. The project it didn't happen at all. So there was a lot of question about like, how is Kody going to afford this, given the fact that he is so overextended financially and already has a mortgage on the house, and how would he be able to afford this type of project, because he always complains that they don't have enough money to do anything. And then there was some discussion that they took out an extra loan, and they never did. So they already have a mortgage on their house. And I think it's like, when it was taken out, it's like $670,000. Okay. And they already had an equity line on the house. So they didn't get a new equity line, and they didn't refinance their other loan that they had just refinanced only a few years ago. So they didn't take any equity out of their house to do these repairs because no new loan documents were filed, okay? They could have had the money in savings, but it sounds like they might not have had the cash to do this because the project never happened. It seems strange that they would go through the process of bidding something out and having permits pulled and then not execute the project. So I'm a little bit questioning here about finances. So here's my thought, is that now that Kody has been dismantled and disrobed as the king, right? The salary that they were paying the family is getting distributed to Kody and Robyn, Mary, Christine, and Janelle. Instead of Kody getting the lion's share with all the money going to his business, his LLC, that money is now being divided, and each one of them is commanding their own individual payment. This payment structure went into place last season. And so the first time that Christine had an income of her own, Janelle had an income of her own, and Mary had an income of her own from the show, independent of Kody, was season 18. This meant that when they were getting paid, they usually get paid, as far as I understand, a certain percentage of the total before they actually get to air, okay? And then they're paid per episode. And so they pay them either monthly or quarterly. And when the show is on for 3 months, they may be getting a check maybe once a month for 3 months. But that per episodic fee now is being split because they're not increasing what they're paying the family. Because the show is already expensive as it is. Kody had already had to take a pay cut years ago because the show was about to be canceled. So I'm not sure if a lot of you know this, but just prior to his wild hair idea to move to Flagstaff, the show was on the verge of being canceled. And the season right before they moved, like right before they even started talking about moving, when Kody just brought up the wild hair idea about moving, was really bad for the network. Like, they didn't do very well in that season for ratings. And the network was threatening to pull the plug because it wasn't getting the returns. People weren't tuning in. And then suddenly Kody decides they're going to move again, which then gives them a storyline, which then moves them to Flagstaff, okay? A lot of what they're doing on the show is for the show. So then the show kind of revives itself when it gets to Flagstaff, but Kody, in order to negotiate that, had to take a pay cut. And they basically whittled down what he was getting paid to like a third, I think, of what he was making before. And now that lesser amount that they were getting paid before is now being divided even further. So they had a joint account where everything was paid into, which is how contracts work for reality television. I don't know if you're aware, but like TLC does this, where they sign a contract with a family. Jill Dillard talked about this in her book. And the contract has the LLC that Kody and the family ran together, which was Kody Brown Family Entertainment. And then the LLC, along with the principals who are on the show, which is the women, Kody and their kids, all sign on to this. And then instead of them making an individual salary, what TLC does is makes a payment to the Kody Brown family, and then that money is supposed to be distributed to the principals. What was happening is that money was not being distributed to the principals, and instead it was staying in a pot that basically Kody and Robyn were taking and pilfering from. Because they were pilfering from it, they filled up their house with knickknacks and expensive art and all kinds of crap that they didn't need to satisfy Robyn's shopping addiction, but it left less money for them to be able to pay off property, to build, or to make any financial decisions. And if you recall, Kody wanted to purchase Christine's house, but he couldn't qualify for that house. And he was trying to get Janelle to qualify so that she would buy the house so that he could have another asset. Janelle last season had stated that Kody had been consistently trying to use her credit for financial purposes to buy things, which is accurate. He used her financially for more than 20 years. He financially abused her for sure. And she wasn't going to let him do that anymore. So in polygamy, all the money supposedly is supposed to belong to the man. And Owen Allred had this rule that like the women are not supposed to be in charge of the finances. Kody was a little bit more liberal and he allowed Janelle to manage the bills, but I think he only did that because she had a degree in business. And I also think that he is so terrible with money that bills would not have been paid had she not done it for him. And as soon as everyone left, Kody started having problems paying taxes. He's caught up on his taxes now, but he was having problems getting on taxes. He was having issues with, he was consistently late on the property taxes, and it was clear that he could run out of money. And Janelle and Gwendolyn did a live stream and basically said that, like, if they don't have the show anymore, it wouldn't be very long before her dad like didn't have any money. Like he was basically cash poor because he spent more than he made, and because he didn't come from money, he didn't make the best money choices. He didn't know money management. And McKelty has talked about that too, about the mismanagement of money in the family with his dad and Robyn specifically not being good with money. So with that being said, when that money went away, he didn't have access to Janelle's credit, Christine, or to Mary. Now he has to rely on Robyn, who has terrible credit, and himself that has terrible credit. And it sounds like he wasn't able to secure the money that he needed to finish this project, because it's pretty weird that you would go all that, like I said, to that length to have it bid and a permit pulled and then not execute the project. It sounds like a capital problem to me. It's interesting because it kind of tells me a couple of things. With Janelle being able to pay that for that property in cash, it makes me wonder if she was able to get the life insurance from Garrison's passing from the military and use that to buy the property. And then Kody doesn't have any access to it because she was the beneficiary. And so Kody currently has a house that he owns and he has property that he owns, but he's cash poor. He's stuck. He could sell his property in Flagstaff that he has, the house that he has, and make a lot of money. And I don't know why he doesn't sell and just move somewhere else. He has so much equity in that home, but you'll never know, I guess. So what are your thoughts about Kody and Robyn's financial issues? Do you think it's going to get worse? Better? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click on the bell so you never miss a video. Bye, everyone.